What's going on, guys? Pegasus and the Wise Guys. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you sub, make sure you hit the bell, guys. I wanted to talk a little bit more about text inside of the Cashier archetype, as well as basically text that you're going to see inside of the format anyways. First off, I want to start by talking about number 74, Master of Blades. Takes 2 level 7 monsters, and it says when a card or effect is activated that targets this face-up card, as a quick effect you can detach one material from this card and then negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Then you can destroy another card on the field. Very, very powerful. However, you got to be careful because that is it's anywhere, so you can be careful with it. You kind of got to be careful with it with popping off, but you do get to choose, so it's not mandatory. But you definitely have a really, really strong presence, and it's just amazing artwork. And aside of like cash tier and mirror matches, this just may pop up later on. It's just something to remember. As far as Ruddy Rose Dragon, another card I wanted to talk about, inside of the cash tier archetype, there's a lot of level 7s, and additionally, you're going to possibly be playing hand traps. Depends on one of these. You know how it is. Ghost Spell, Ghost Ogre, Ash Blossom, Birdman is another card that's kind of interesting. But anyways, and having a 7, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 plus 3, 1 2 3 equals 10. Ruddy Rose equals 10. You get to bring it out onto the field. Ruddy Rose says when you synchro summon it, you can banish all cards from the graveyards. Then if this card was synchro summoned using Black Rose, you don't have to worry about that. You get to basically blow up everything on the field. It also says when your opponent activates a card or effect that would destroy a card or cards, you can tribute this card and then negate the activation. And then possibly, if you have Black Rose Dragon in some kind of capacity, which you probably will if you're playing Destrudo like I am, Ruddy Rose is pretty decent. So just makes it be something you want to consider. The Destrudo equals the Black Rose equals the Ruddy Rose. It's just something. I'm not quite playing it because I'm like, man, where do I have the space? But in this specific scenario, maybe you cut this down and then cut this down and then slip in Ruddy Rose when the Ishizu tier stuff. It's definitely something that you might need for Ishizu tier, so that may be a small possibility that I change. I love having double Big Eye because people never see the second one coming. As far as the rest of the cards I wanted to talk about, I kind of speed up as I go along. Utopia Draco Future, just because no, you can't use the rank monsters. However, having multiple level 7s happens a lot, and that means that while you also can just Big Eye through their board, there may be specific scenarios where Utopia Draco Future may come up as well. Additionally, I wanted to talk about the Odd Eyes Rebellion package, as well as Rebellion Dragon Overlord. Rebellion Dragon Overlord is the really, really interesting one because you can overlay it by using a Rebellion Exceeds monster that you control, and it has some pendulum stuff that basically happens, but being able to attack 3 times is really, really stupid if you have that material, which is really, really easy to happen because you probably will if you have 2 level 7 dragon types. And then if you're messing around with like Absolute Dragon, which is down here, you're just going to be able to go boom, boom, boom. So that is what it is with that. The other cards, Light Force Sword, an additional card. A pointer got limited to 1, sadly, tears. But I definitely feel the Light Force Sword is a decent replacement. The reason why a pointer got limited to 1, this is my opinion. It got limited to 1 because it would have put a card like Arise Heart so far out in front of your opponent, being able to have perfect knowledge and take the rip out of their hand, take a card that could possibly out, and most of the time you're going to just rip the kaiju because they can't dark rule you or anything. But if they could dark rule you, then you could punish them anyway. But Arise Heart would then be able to attach it as material, which I find absolutely stupid. And I covered this card the other day. Make sure you go watch that video. As far as rounding this out, though, World Armor is just another card that I wanted to mention, just simply because a lot of the World Legacy stuff, the Mech Knights and all that, there's some 7s in the archetypes. It's something you got to look at. Mechanical Hound is another interesting card because you can normal summon without tributing. And this card, when you don't have cards in your hand, which, you could play a build that would be trap-centric, then Mechanical Hound would kind of be a little bit dumb because having a bunch of traps and then your opponent having the inability to use any kind of spell cards, and it's one-sided, it's kind of like Vanity's Ruler. So it just may be something you want to look at as well. Silent Graveyard is a very interesting card, in my opinion, as well, simply because the Ishizu tier stuff is going to tier you a new you-know-what if you don't have something for it. So while, yes, Soul Drain is really, really ignorant, so is Silent Graveyard. And trust me, if you need a video, we'll do one just to kind of get out ahead of that because we all know it's coming. I saw this the other day in a OCG deck list and then again in another YouTuber's video. This card has been popping up in the OCG and Cash Tier and mirror matches for the simple fact that basically you're sticking this on your opponent's side of the field, and then with the Cash Tier stuff, in case you have forgotten it or have been under a rock, they all basically get really, really strong when you don't have any monsters. So when you stick a card like this on your opponent's side of the field, you're in a good position. Now, yes, it can possibly come back and kick you in the butt later on. It just is what it is, guys. I don't know if it's going to be that broken, but I have been seeing it. So I definitely had to mention it. And you can like rota it if you really want to. And I don't know why in the world this is a warrior. But, you know, old cards are old cards. This is an extremely old card. I think it was way back in LOB or MRD or one of those old sets. But it is what it is with that. Rounding out, before I get out of here, Ibli is the card that has definitely needs to be considered as well inside of the archetype, just because you can just go off with special summoning the Cash Tier stuff and then normal summon an Ibli at the end of all that with an link into an All Mirage, hand them off an Ibli, and then they get cut out of a lot of outs that they could out your board with, and if they're not playing a specific deck, they kind of auto lose. So it's definitely something you want to consider. Magician Souls, if you wanted to play additional cards to be able to tribute off some of the face-up spells that you'll have, and then additionally draw cards and play Illusion, which is another 7, that's something as well. And then last but not least, nobody ever kind of mentioned it, so I'm going to mention it again. Harpy Conductor inside of Fluanderies. In case you've forgotten, I told you I'd have a bonus one for you. In case you have forgotten, if you get stuck with mine, and you're playing Fluanderies, this is a card that helps you to out all of those mines as fast as possible, because you go down into this and then you hit it with an Advent. Guys, the rest of these cards, I could talk your head off. You know that this is a 7 and so on and so forth. But I would just implore you to definitely look at all the rank 7s and always try to investigate text and come up with the best solutions possible for, is this card a force multiplier or not? Because that's all we're doing. When texts are texts, they either stick or they don't. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Pegasus out. Arrivederci. Ciao, babe.